Good evening and thank you for joining us. A well-known local boxing coach has been arrested by Thunder Bay Police. 62-year-old Tony Pimentel was taken into custody this morning.
He's been charged with sexual assault and sexual exploitation involving victims who were known to him through the boxing community. Mike Lang has been following the story and joins us live in the studio. Mike.
Thanks, Ryan. The charges, they date back all the way 30 years to 1995. The initial investigation began in November 2022 when incidents were first brought to the attention of city police. Through the investigation, police laid the initial charges against Pimentel in July. The arrest of Tony Pimentel is sure to send shockwaves to the local sporting community. City police have been working on the case since the first complainant came forward 9 months ago. Investigators were recently able to identify a second victim, which resulted in police charging Pimentel with a second count of sexual assault Thursday morning. Detective Sergeant Jason Ryback was brief in his description of the incidents.
I'll just leave it with they're troubling incidents. This is a very traumatic experience for some of them. Again, you can see the date range, some of them. There's been trauma brought back up over what happened over 30 years ago.
Pimentel began coaching top local boxers in the late 1980s, and during his tenure, he coached 14 local athletes to Canadian boxing titles, along with several Olympians and world champions. Ryback believes there could be more victims across multiple regions that were involved with Pimentel.
We know that certainly over 30 years, people may have been victimized in Thunder Bay and moved across Canada, the United States, and so we're making that plea nationally, and I'll say internationally in the sense that we're close to the U.S., that if any of these individuals who have had contact with him over the last 30 years and have been victimized, we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. We want to help you navigate this and get you the supports you need.
Ryback confirmed that both victims were adult-aged at the time. He adds that Pimentel's arrest could encourage more victims to come forward.
Just know that there's a tremendous amount of support in the community to support victims of sexual assault. Our service takes it extremely serious, and we have victim witnesses through our own police service that we want to support the victims in these cases.
Pimentel appeared in bail court Thursday morning, where he was released with conditions and a future appearance date. The investigation remains ongoing as police seek to identify more victims and speak to whoever was involved with Pimentel over the last 30 years. Anyone with information that may assist investigators are encouraged to anonymously contact Thunder Bay Police or Crime Stoppers. Mike Lang, TBT News.
The judge in the trial of Thunder Bay Police Constable Andrew Franco announced today that he'll deliver his verdict on September 22nd.
Franco is charged with one count of assault causing bodily harm, stemming from a 2022 incident outside City Hall. The two-day trial concluded on Tuesday, and Dougal Media has now obtained police body camera footage of the incident. Jonathan Wilson has the story and a warning to viewers. The video is disturbing.
Police were called to City Hall on April 3, 2022, regarding an intoxicated man who was allegedly shoving people inside a bus shelter and challenging a security guard to fight. Constable Andrew Franco and another officer arrived on scene, and everything came to a head within 15 seconds.
What the hell, man?
Nothing. Hey, man.
Hey, oh, I'm sorry. Hey, what are you doing? You can't be drinking in public. Knock it off!
The man was punched once in the face and went straight down onto the concrete, bloody and nearly unconscious.
You don't push back on an officer, man. Really? I've seen you fall down and eat pavement. That's gonna keep you down?
The man was taken to hospital by EMS and diagnosed with a fractured cheekbone. Franco was suspended by former police chief Sylvie Hoth after she viewed the body cam video. The province's Special Investigations Unit later decided there was enough evidence to charge Franco with assault causing bodily harm. At the trial earlier this week, Franco's lawyer argued that the injured man had squared up to punch the officer.
I knocked him out.
You put him down?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the way we're supposed to be doing things.
Well, he shouldn't be throwing swings at cops, so.
Franco rode in the ambulance with the victim and was questioned by a paramedic about what happened.
Oh no, I punched him directly in the face.
Oh, I see.
Well, he squared off with me because I took the Kellys away from him.
Okay.
And then he talked back, so I just drilled him before he could hit me. So. Well, they were all pushing each other around the bus shelter. I think he thought it was one of his buddies, so he squared off with me. Not a bright idea. That's the short and skinny of it. It dumped out his wine, he didn't like that, and he tried to come at me.
The Crown prosecutor argued that the victim was simply grabbing for his alcohol when Franco suddenly punched him with full force. The judge's verdict will be delivered on September 22nd. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
A major milestone has been reached in the highway twinning project between Thunder Bay and Nipigon. Traffic is now flowing on the new eastbound lanes near Dorian. However, construction work continues and there are still traffic delays for motorists. Work began on the $75 million project in the fall of 2020. As of yesterday, all 8.6 kilometers of the newly constructed eastbound lanes are open and traffic is moving along both sides of the divided highway. But all 4 lanes won't be fully opened until the repaving along sections of the westbound lanes is completed. The ongoing work will also see traffic delays towards the east end of the twin section, and lines still need to be painted on some sections of the highway. The project is expected to be fully completed sometime in September.
The province this week announced 21 new beds planned for Sioux Lookout's supportive treatment facility.
That would bring the total number of beds in the community to 37 by the end of this year, up from 16. Carl Langdon files this report.
Ontario's Associate Minister for Mental Health and Addictions, Michael Thibodeau, was in Sioux Lookout to announce further funding for the local supportive treatment centre situated at former Queen Elizabeth District High School. More than $4 million is coming from the province's Addiction Recovery Fund, a $90 million pool set aside by the province to tackle rising tides of addiction across Ontario. Thibodeau says the additional 21 beds represents an essential step forward.
But the work's not done, because in building a continuum of care, yes, withdrawal management, detox is important, pre- and post-treatment beds is important, addiction treatment beds is important, supportive beds are important, and every one of those pieces has to be built within the local communities to help individuals have the support they need where and when they need it.
Those individual pieces that Thibodeau mentions all represent individual steps in tackling substance use disorders. The Chief Administrator of the Kenora District Services Board, Henry Wall, notes that the local OPP and the residents of Sioux Lookout should be commended for their efforts to address the suffering caused by addiction.
The supportive housing would not have happened without the support of police. So it's one thing I will say about Sioux Lookout is it's a community where everybody kind of rolls up their sleeve and says, how do we actually do this as a collective?
Over half of that provincial addiction recovery fund has gone to communities north of Sudbury. Many of those municipalities act as hubs for those that reside even further north. Sioux Lookout's mayor, Doug Lawrence, acknowledged the need for organizations to work together and took a moment to point out the key role that Indigenous communities have had in organizing treatment services in the community.
And this funding is the type of funding that even enhances that and brings agencies and people together to work together. And let's not forget, as Henry gave the land acknowledgement, we're here because of 30 First Nations to our north, and we are the hub, the service center for that. And those First Nations have gone through a history that has led to the need.
The Supportive Treatment Center is run by the Sioux Lookout Friendship Accord. Executive Director of the center, Tana Troniak, assures that service delivery is provided through a culturally relevant approach.
Anything I can do to make a person's life better is really where I come from. I don't like to speak a lot, I don't need praises. I'm just here to help my people. So that's kind of it, and make sure our culture is brought into everything I do.
Provincial studies have found that during the pandemic, Northern Ontario experienced rates of opioid-related deaths that were 3 times higher than elsewhere and 79% higher than previous years. Carl Langdon, TBT News.
The murder of a Toronto mother has sparked a provincial review.
She was shot and killed just steps from a safe consumption site. Now that facility and others like it are part of a government investigation. Siobhan Morris has the details.
The safe consumption site inside the South Riverdale Community Health Centre has been the focus of community concern for months. That conversation exploded onto a bigger stage when Caroline Hubler-Makarat was hit by a stray bullet and killed, steps away from the centre. Now, harm prevention sites like it are going under the microscope. A spokesperson for the Minister of Health writes in part, following the tragic incident last month, the ministry launched a critical incident review of consumption sites, starting with South Riverdale Community Health Centre. We are extremely troubled by this latest development and are reviewing what options are available to the government. Toronto City Hall welcomes the review.
The challenges that come with safe injection sites are real, and it is wrong for politicians to dismiss those concerns. We need to roll up our sleeves and actually make sure we're addressing those challenges.
We need a place where it's safe inside,
but safe outside. The residents deserve no less.
People who live near the spot where Hubner Macarat was killed are conflicted.
There's been arguments that it's too close to the school, it backs onto people's houses, but where do the people that need the support go?
I think management definitely needs to step up and do a better job, but I think they're necessary for people's safety, including the community and the people that use them.
The tragedy that happened here, that shouldn't be the reason that we're doing a review. The review should happen because that's part of the process, not because something went on.
This community outreach worker understands the review, but
I am frankly quite worried about where exactly this is going to go. When we talk about a review, what exactly are we going to review?
The Minister of Health's office hasn't said exactly what the review will entail, but Chan McNally fears sites could close as a result.
We do need these kinds of sites for a variety of different reasons, and understanding again that they work. They save lives, and the solution to somebody's life tragically being ended is not to put other people's lives at risk.
She's calling for more funding to address security concerns and to build bridges between centers and their communities.
That was Siobhan Morris reporting. Inconsistent internet and cellular service has long been an issue in the remote regions of northwestern Ontario. Area MPPs Lise Vaugeois and Saul Mamakwa helped organize a virtual discussion today to address the issues of high cell phone bills and inadequate internet access. The NDP members heard presentations from several telecom businesses and municipal association directors who shared the challenges that they faced as a result of poor internet and cellular connectivity.
If you get stranded or anything happens on those northern highways, especially in the winter, not only, and there's no service available, there's no gas service, there's nothing. And so that's, to me, a huge safety concern for us, not just for those in Northwestern Ontario, but those that are traveling through Northwestern Ontario as well.
We were only given like 100 meg for the whole community to use. And that wasn't enough.
And we do have plans. We do have a feasibility study to upgrade cellular, but it's going to cost, $27 million. And, the communities don't have the money to invest in that, as well as our business. I mean, we don't make enough profit in order to invest that amount. We will never see return on that investment.
The MPPs and presenters agree that more public funding is needed to build the necessary infrastructure to make connectivity more accessible and affordable in the Northwest.
The replacement of a major culvert in Atikokan is expected to be completed in late September. A 50-foot section of Mercury Avenue washed out 3 months ago when the culvert below the roadway collapsed. The washout on May 9th made Mercury Avenue completely inaccessible and damaged Atikokan's main water line, causing a temporary disruption and a boil water advisory. The culvert had already been scheduled for replacement this summer, but Atikokan Mayor Rob Ferguson says getting the project moving after the old culvert failed was no simple feat.
It's a lot more work than what we thought it was, what I thought it was going to be, because we actually had to divert the river to get the culvert in. We're looking hopefully sometime this month that's back in service. But again, I would rather have it go an extra couple of weeks and have it done right than, try to rush things and not get the finished product that we were hoping for.
Ferguson says it's possible the big job won't be fully complete until early October. The town of Atikokan declared a state of emergency on May 11th, which Ferguson says will be lifted sometime after construction wraps up.